Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to another episode of News Dose, where I give you all of the latest gaming news, and I hope everybody is ready for a great weekend. We actually did get a couple big game releases today with Crash 4 and Star Wars Squadron, so that might be something fun to do this weekend. However, we do have a lot to talk about today. So here's something that I wasn't expecting just yet, but it looks like the Xbox Series X already has an 8K resolution game, and right at launch. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that, as well as a controversial and, quite frankly, a head-scratching comment made by Nintendo, so stay tuned for that as well. Before we get into all that though, we do have a lot more to talk about, so let's get right into it. And today let's start off with an upcoming game that's going just a little bit under the radar right now, Sakuna Rise of Ruins. I often like to highlight some of these games when I think that they deserve just a little more attention, and Sakuna Rise of Ruins looks like a pretty interesting action RPG. Well, a new game trailer was revealed today, showing 13 minutes of gameplay. You get to see a little about how the combat works in this game, as well as some farming. I think that the art style looks pretty good, and overall it just looks like a really fun game. And that's the thing, not many people seem to know about Sakuna Rise of Ruins, and it will be releasing next month in November for Steam, the PlayStation 4, and the Nintendo Switch. So if you want to go check out the full 13-minute video, I will have that in the description, but it might be a game worth keeping an eye out for. Now, we did get another new game release today, and this one just kind of came out of nowhere. Yeah, so Konami did another shadow drop on GOG.com, this time being Silent Hill 4. Yeah, this is the second week in a row that Konami has done something like this. They released Metal Gear Solid onto the GOG store last week, but this is actually pretty interesting. Konami doesn't particularly seem like they're interested in big AAA games anymore, but they still are a big part of gaming history. They do have some very beloved franchises, and it looks like they're partnering up with GOG to put some of their old games on. Now, they're probably not putting a lot of effort into these games, so don't expect some visual overhaul or anything like that, but at the very least, you can go pick up these games right now. Silent Hill, of course, is one of the most popular horror franchises ever made, so I expect some people to be pretty excited about this release. It is only $10, so that's not really that bad. I also like the timing here with them releasing it in the month of October, so we can start off the spooktacular month with an old horror classic from 2004. What I would really like to see Konami do, though, is bring back Metal Gear Solid 4. I know that's probably a lot to ask for because it was developed with the PlayStation 3 in mind, and the cell processor in that thing was just a nightmare to work with, so probably not likely, but hey, maybe one day we can see that make a comeback and return. Either way, I'll be interested to see if they bring more of their back catalog to GOG.com. Moving on, we got some strange Google Stadia news. Yeah, so apparently Google's new $50 Chromecast that supports a lot of different streaming services, for some odd reason does not support Google Stadia when it launches. How strange is that? I mean, you would think that they would have included Google Stadia with Chromecast as they try to bolster their gaming brand, but instead it's being delayed until the first half of 2021. Now, apparently you can get it working by sideloading it, which is kind of amusing because Xbox Game Pass streaming also works with the Chromecast this way. Still though, you would think that they would have made this a priority to get Google Stadia running on the Chromecast day one, and I think what this does is that it brings up more questions for customers. How committed to gaming is Google really? This has been an ongoing question for quite a while, and this certainly doesn't give fans a huge vote of confidence in their service. And that's the thing, when you have things like Xbox Game Pass, which is easily the best deal in gaming, and is now available to stream, that's tough for Google to compete with. For that matter, Amazon just announced Luna, and I think that sounds much better than Stadia. So right now they have to give gamers a reason to choose Stadia over Game Pass and Luna, and I'm not really sure that they're doing that. Again, you have to wonder how much of a priority Stadia is to Google. For me, this is just more of a reason I do not want them to start acquiring big game studios. I really hope Microsoft can hold them off in that regard. In other news, it sounds like the new Mortal Kombat 11 characters are right around the corner, and based off some data mining, we may even know who those characters are. So check this out. According to some data miners, Melina, Rain, and John Rambo will be the final 3 Mortal Kombat 11 characters. Yeah, Rambo may actually be coming to Mortal Kombat, which kind of fits with this franchise. This wouldn't be the first 80s action hero in Mortal Kombat, and in fact, RoboCop and the Terminator are already in Mortal Kombat 11. That's actually pretty cool, especially if you like these old 80s movies, and now you can pit them against each other in one of the most brutal and gory games ever made. We'll still have to wait and see what happens here though, because this is just a rumor for the moment. There is no confirmation just yet, but at the very least, I would expect Mileena to join Mortal Kombat 11. She is an insanely popular character in this franchise, and it's surprising she isn't in this game already. But if you play Mortal Kombat, let me know your thoughts on these 3 characters coming to Mortal Kombat 11. We also got a quick update on Baldur's Gate 3, and that should be exciting for longtime RPG fans. I mean, Baldur's Gate is one of the most genre-defining games ever, and with Larian Studios developing the 3rd game, it's incredibly exciting. These are the developers behind Divinity Original Sin, so fans expect high-quality content for Baldur's Gate 3. Well, we're just 1 week away from getting that early access, and they posted a nice little update revealing the character creation tools. And this really isn't shocking at all, but it looks great. Not just great though, but actually it looks amazing. You're going to have access to 16 different races, and the character creation tools are not only highly detailed, but they actually use 3D scanning of real people for the models in this game. I mean, if you look at the faces, they're photorealistic, and this is something that I have a problem with in a lot of RPGs. Oftentimes, I see pretty good creation tools, but the character models just do not look great. But in Baldur's Gate 3, they look phenomenal. If you're one of those people who lose hours and hours into creating characters though, this is going to be a lot of fun. I have to say, the more I hear about this game, the more I want to play it. I'm probably going to hold off until the full release, but they sure are making it hard to wait this one out. Let's start talking about the Xbox for just a moment though, because we do have some very surprising news for the Xbox Series X, because apparently at launch, it will already have an 8K resolution game. Yes, the upcoming console-exclusive Falconeer will be 8K on the Series X. That's actually pretty insane, though I'm not sure how many people will actually get to take advantage of this. I mean, I can't imagine very many people having an 8K setup already, but this goes to show you the capabilities of the Series X. When it was first announced that it was capable of 8K resolution, a lot of people didn't really believe it, but there it is, and on day one, all things considered. Now that being said, this is a smaller independent game focusing more on the artistic side of things. I'm not saying that as a bad thing, and I like these type of games personally. I'm really not one of those type of people who just like big AAA games, but you know, Falconeer is probably not pushing the Series X to its edge in terms of its graphics. With that said, I guess they could at least use that extra power that was left over for 8K resolution. And really, that got me to thinking. This could be a great marketing term for some of these independent games. Obviously, a lot of these smaller games are not going to use every ounce of power for the Series X, and by enabling 8K resolution, it could help them stand out from the rest of the crowd. Something that Microsoft might even do is allow players to specifically search for 8K games in the Xbox store. So that's something to keep in mind, though I am curious to how well Falconeer actually runs at 8K. That probably does require quite a bit of power, and I wonder if performance may struggle with that. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but again, at the very least, it's kind of cool to see that we're already getting an 8K game this early on in the generation. Now on to our last topic. So for the last year, Nintendo has been faced with a class action lawsuit over the Nintendo Switch and its Joy-Con stick drift. This is basically where your analog sticks will wear out over time to the point they start to drift to one side, making you move in games when you're not actually moving. This is a pretty common problem with Joy-Cons, and I would say it's almost inevitable for most Joy-Cons to have this problem eventually if you play the Switch long enough. Well, that's the thing. It really is a common issue, but reportedly, Nintendo is arguing in court that this isn't a real problem or hasn't caused anyone inconvenience. Yeah, so I have to highly disagree with that. One of my Joy-Cons actually got stick drift right as we went into lockdown, which of course means that Nintendo had shut down their repair center. So what I had to do is buy completely new Joy-Cons, which were sold out at the time. So I did have some trouble finding some. I did eventually get some new ones, but I can certainly say the whole situation was both an inconvenience and rather expensive. Yeah, these things aren't cheap at all, which makes the whole situation even worse. I like Nintendo and all, and I love the Switch, but come on, this is ridiculous. Just own up to your mistake. That would be like Xbox saying the Red Ring of Death wasn't an inconvenience, or PlayStation saying that 2011's hack, where 77 million PSN accounts were compromised, was no big deal. They were a big deal, and honestly, I would respect Nintendo even more if they just own up to their mistake here, fix it, and move on. The Switch is a fantastic device with extraordinary games, but the Joy-Con is flawed. There is no way around that, so it's strange to hear them say something like this. With that said, Nintendo is doing free repairs for Joy-Cons now, so there is that, but still, let's just acknowledge the problem here. I will ask you though, if you have a Switch, have you had any problems with one of your Joy-Cons? And let me know how your experience was in getting it repaired. Obviously mine didn't go well, but that was more because of the timing. That wasn't really Nintendo's fault or anything like that, and I do understand that. To be fair though, I shouldn't have had an issue in the first place, but it is what it is. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for helping make this content possible. Peace out.